This is the story of a man who had absolutely nothing, no savings, no degree, no connections, no real future. And yet, within just 980 days, his entire life changed because of one simple decision. He started waking up at 5 a.m. What happened during those quiet morning hours completely transformed him. And by the end of this story, you may never look at your mornings the same way again. Before we begin, think about this. What time do you usually wake up? And honestly, are you building your future or just surviving another day? In a small industrial town where factories never seemed to sleep, there lived a 32-year-old man named Ethan Carter. Every night at exactly 8 p.m., Ethan clocked in for work as a security guard at a massive warehouse near the edge of town. And every morning at 6 a.m., exhausted and drained, he walked home while the rest of the world was just beginning its day. His salary barely covered rent, cheap food, and bus fare. He lived alone in a tiny one-room apartment with peeling paint on the walls and a broken ceiling fan that barely worked. His mattress sat directly on the floor. The single light bulb hanging above his bed flickered constantly whenever the electricity weakened. His clothes were old, his shoes were worn thin, but the worst part wasn't being poor, it was feeling invisible. Every morning on his walk home, Ethan watched life happening through apartment windows, families eating breakfast together, children laughing before school, men in clean shirts driving to office jobs, and every single morning the same painful thought echoed in his head: will this ever change for me? He had tried. God knows he had tried. He applied for better jobs, but without a college degree, nobody gave him a chance. He wanted to learn new skill, but after standing all night during exhausting shifts, he barely had enough energy to shower before collapsing into bed. His mother lived alone in a small countryside town 2 hours away. Every Sunday evening she called him. "Ethan," she would say softly, "I pray life becomes easier for you soon." He always forced a smile into his voice. "Will, Mom, I'm figuring things out," but deep down he felt completely lost. The painful truth was this, Ethan wasn't lazy. He worked harder than most people he knew. He stayed awake while others slept. He showed up every night. He never complained. But hard work without direction was keeping him trapped in the exact same life. Every morning around 7 a.m., Ethan collapsed into bed while the world outside moved forward without him. And one rainy Tuesday morning, lying awake in the darkness of his apartment, staring at the cracked ceiling above him, a strange thought entered his mind. What if my life doesn't change because I'm giving my best energy to survival? Instead of growth, that single thought would end up changing everything. Because only a few days later, something happened that forced Ethan to make a decision that would completely transform his future forever. 3 days later, Ethan's phone rang just as he finished his shift. It was his younger sister. Her voice sounded shaky. "Ethan, you need to come home right now." Mom collapsed. His heart dropped instantly. Within minutes, he was on the first bus heading toward the countryside. The sky outside was still dark. Rain slid slowly down the windows as the nearly empty bus rolled through silent streets. Ethan sat there replaying every regret in his mind. I should have done more. I should have made something of myself already. When he finally arrived at the small village clinic, his mother looked weak and exhausted. The doctor explained that stress, poor nutrition, and years of overworking had finally caught up with her. She needs rest, the doctor said quietly, and proper medical care Ethan couldn't afford. His mother reached for his hand. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Ethan, promise me something." He leaned closer. "Please don't spend your whole life struggling the way I did. Find a better life while you still can." Those words hit him harder than anything he had ever heard. Later that morning, after she fell asleep, Ethan stepped outside the clinic. It was exactly 5 a.m. The village was quiet and still. Farmers were beginning to walk toward the fields. Birds sang softly in the distance while cold morning air moved through the trees. For the first time in years, Ethan stopped rushing. He simply stood there in silence, and something inside him changed.
No more.
He whispered to himself, I refuse to live like this forever. Few hours later, during the bus ride back to the city, Ethan noticed an older man sitting across from him. The man looked calm, focused, successful. He wore a dark coat and polished shoes, and he was reading from a notebook filled with handwritten plans and schedules. Ethan recognized him immediately. Victor Hale, a respected businessman who owned several stores and apartment buildings in town. What shocked Ethan wasn't the man himself, it was the time. It was barely 6 a.m. Gathering courage, Ethan finally asked, Sir, why are you awake this early? Victor smiled. Because mornings changed my life. Ethan listened carefully. Victor explained that for over 20 years, he had woken up before sunrise every single day to read, think, learn, plan, grow. Then he looked directly at Ethan. You work nights, don't you? Ethan nodded. And when do you sleep? Usually around 7 a.m. until afternoon. Victor leaned back slowly. So while the world is building opportunities, you're unconscious? The words stung because Ethan knew they were true. And then Victor said something Ethan would never forget. The hours between 5 and 7 a.m. can completely change a person's future. Most people waste them. Successful people protect them. Before leaving the bus, Victor handed Ethan a business card. If you're serious about changing your life, he said, call me tomorrow morning at exactly 5 a.m. Ethan stared down at the card in his hand. For the first time in years, he felt hope. That night, Ethan did something he had not done in years. He went to sleep early. At exactly 5 a.m., his alarm exploded beside his bed. His body immediately fought back. You're tired. Sleep another hour. Start tomorrow instead. But then he remembered his mother lying in that hospital bed. He forced himself up outside. The city was silent. No traffic, no noise, no distractions. At 5:10 a.m., Ethan called Victor. To his surprise, the older man answered instantly. Good, Victor said. Most people fail before day one even starts. Later that morning, they met at a small cafe downtown. Victor opened a notebook and drew a simple picture of a house. Your life is like this house, he explained. Right now the walls are weak because you've spent years surviving instead of building the foundation. Then he pointed to the bottom of the drawing, these early morning hours. This is where the foundation gets built. Victor explained the math clearly. 2 focused hours every morning meant, 14 extra hours every week, over 60 hours every month, more than 700 hours every year. That's nearly 3 extra months of self-improvement every single year. Victor said, while most people waste their mornings scrolling through their phones, then he gave Ethan a system. Think hour 1, build valuable skills, learn something that can increase your income. Victor explained Excel, accounting, marketing, coding, sales, anything valuable. Hour 2, build yourself, exercise. Your body and mind are tools, Victor said. If you don't strengthen them, your future collapses. Then came the rules. Rule 1, wake up at 5 a.m. every single day. No exceptions. Rule 2, protect your sleep. Go to bed early enough to recover properly. Rule 3, expect the first month to feel painful. Motivation disappears quickly, Victor warned him. Discipline is what changes lives. Ethan accepted the challenge immediately. The first week was brutal. His eyes burned during online Excel lessons. His legs ached from exhaustion. Some mornings he almost gave up completely, but every time he wanted to quit, he remembered one thing. If nothing changed, his future would look exactly the same 5 years from now. So he kept going. Every morning at 5 a.m., Ethan sat at the tiny table in his apartment watching free tutorials on spreadsheets and business software. At 6 a.m., he walked through quiet streets while listening to audiobooks about discipline and success. Because slowly, something began changing inside him. By day 18, his mind felt sharper. By day 25, he noticed he had more energy during work. And on day 30, Ethan woke up 2 minutes before his alarm clock even rang. For the first time in years, he felt in control of his life, and he was only getting started.